Peace be upon you. How are you doing? What are you thinking about, guys? We will take your comments above the likes of your suggestions for movies and series and do them for the sake of people who get upset when we do things they don't like. Today we will talk about a series called Devi. If I pronounce it correctly, it is a Russian series and it means something soft. Like this, two mountains were created 2 years ago in 2022. If you like to see the future of the world, how it would work if there were women in it, then this series is suitable for you because the series is of the science fiction genre, meaning something imaginary will never happen, but it is to see what will happen when men disappear from the earth and the entire population remains women and we think before. We won't start again if you can choose your series and movies yourself through the comments, or you can enter the Muhammad Tahir fans group on Facebook. The link. Please come and ask for the things you want, and may God always keep us for you. Let's go. The series begins in Russia in the future in the year 240, which means a long time from now, and we know that technology at that time was very modern, and this is something to be expected, and all people live in independent houses made of artificial intelligence, and we will see a girl at that time. Her name is Lisa. She talks to Larissa, the housekeeper, and this Larissa is an artificial intelligence, meaning a robot. Larissa prepares for her everything that she asks of her, and while Mrs. Lisa is watching the news comes out about a woman who is performing a demonstration because she does not agree to get pregnant through artificial insemination. She wants to know what artificial insemination is. Go in and read about it. She wants the pregnancy to be the natural way through men, and this is because the government artificial insemination was imposed on women, and this is why it happened, because women became more numerous than men because the number of men remained very small. May God protect us, and those who remain are in these colonies, except that Mrs. Liz is 50 years old, but in the name of God, God willing, I mean, her body and appearance are young, and then Liza leaves her house, and we find that the entire community is women only, and there is no man living with them. Where are we, guys, in that everything is okay? Their surroundings are made of artificial intelligence, and when Lisa throws her trash in the wrong bin, why do the fines police come? She deducts 5 points from Lisa, and at that time we realize that the currency they use is the points, something like the novel The Land of Zola, like this, and they must preserve these points so that nothing happens. But when Lisa arrives at work, we learn that she is a teacher who enters a place that resembles a spaceship, which is an origin, and a group of students sit in it, and all of them sit there. Girls, of course, and she shows them a historical video about the history of humanity before their time and how these beings called men were the ones who ruled. At that time, even wars were the ones who were fighting and the reason for their occurrence and destruction. In the year 2030, a deadly conflict occurred between America and North Korea, caused by this crazy man. At that time, Korean scientists created a virus to destroy all the men in the American army, but what was the surprise? The virus got out of control and spread throughout the world, all of it, and destroyed 99% of men all over the world. God remains in us, and after that, a new and better world remains. For them, it means free from diseases, famine, and wars. Even the lives of people changed, and they continued to live until the age of 150. May God grant them long lives. But the men who are still living are in the destroyed part and the colonies, and the birth of males has become almost impossible, and women are forced to use artificial insemination to carry him and give him birth. Do you want to know what? It is artificial insemination. Enter, read about it, and the students smile at Lisa if it is possible for one mutation to occur. The woman disagrees with a male, so Liz tells her that this could happen, but he will only live until he is 30 years old. Then we go to the colony where the men live, and we find that they live a completely inhuman life. They work for everything and eat whatever is available to them, and there is a group of rebellious women living with them. Those who reject the new regime that has happened, even if she sees that her place is at the feet of her husband, and we will see someone. One of them is called Baron, and we learn that he is the head of the colony, and he holds the microphone and talks about the women who decided to destroy the male race, and he wants to start a revolution and an uprising against them. And he talks about the grandfather who built the colony, which they have been living in now for 100 years. At the same time, Lisa and the female students are standing at the colony's wall photographing the pilgrim, and the people of the colony with the digital balls that they wear are surprised that there are people. She lives in a place like this, and they see men who are belittling themselves and get very upset because they feel at the time that they are being treated like animals, while the women of the city stand watching them and taking pictures of her. When Lisa returns to the vehicle they were in, she discovers that Maria is not there, so she sees them standing and frolicking with the duck, and suddenly a young man comes. His name is Jira, and he kills the duck and hides Lisa and Maria before they leave the colony. He sees them, and at this moment, Jira decides to kiss Lisa because, my eyes, he has never seen women from the city before, but Lisa is upset and believes his behavior, which is what you are doing. So she starts using the whistle that she has, and its sound makes Jira feel a terrible pain in his brain, and unfortunately, the men are unable to catch Lisa and Maria, and they decide that they will start a duel between them and each other over who will take Lisa and who will take Maria and who. He won't take anything and decide to participate in this women's duel, but he gets worried and afraid as soon as he sees his opponent because he is big and has muscles, and he doesn't have them, and his body is weak and not as strong as him. So when his opponent comes to hit him, he breaks up. So the blow comes to Baron, so everyone fears for Baron, and and he kills him, and Lisa ends up at that time. The opportunity is for her and Maria to escape, and a neighbor at that time helps him escape, and he escapes as well. But through another method, it is used in blue, and we know that this barrel goes into the container for artificial insemination seeds that women use in the city. Do you want to know what artificial insemination is? Go online and read about it. No kidding. This artificial insemination is that a woman becomes pregnant by implanting the man's semen into her body. For a long time, without the presence of the man himself, if I didn't find anything, I would go in and read about him, and at this time we would see Julia's arse, the seed ship, and the strange thing is that this Julia's keeps talking to Jira since they are men like each other, and he drinks a lot until he gets drunk, and Biff overpowers him, and this makes him fall into the vehicle while it is moving quickly. So Jara puts on Julia's clothes and beats him in it, and after a while, the vehicle passes through a transparent, non-patterned barrier that is blue in color, and we know that this is the checkpoint, the one in the city, and a girl comes with a delivery vehicle and lets a neighbor ride with her to deliver it to the place where Julius is supposed to go, and as soon as the ladies see him, they stop by and search for him because this seat official is considered a very important person for them. Then he delivers Jara to a woman named Vivian, and they learn that she is the mother of the city. There is a news channel filming the event of the mother of the city, and she asks Jara to please say a word. To the viewers, he goes on to tell them that the pollination seeds he is responsible for will allow all women to give birth to healthy children. Nothing is more wonderful, and then his neighbor goes to the breeding base where the officials responsible for the 2 pollination seeds are sitting, and he is very happy that they are taking care of him. Finally, he will live a human life as a human being, and the second day in the morning, his neighbor wakes up amazed at the technology around them and the women's interest in them, but then he goes out with the rest of the officials in the pollination centers, and we know the one in charge of them is Berta, and she tells them about the rules that they must follow and shows her time on Jira. He's bored and disgusted and doesn't care about anything, Berta says, and he tells his colleague that we should come and sit in front of the sea and catch fish and grill fish, but because of their great intelligence, they hear the alarm bell ringing and the world is raining artificial rain on them to put out the fire. Of course, we find Berta getting teary because of what they did, and at the same time, it's Lisa. She is sitting with her mother, Paulina, and Anna, her grandmother, and we know that they are in a Session A trial because Maria informed the authorities about what happened to her during the field trip with Lisa in the colony. We also know that her mother remains Vivian, the mother of the city, who is extremely angry because of what happened to her daughter. She tells Maria at this time that these monkey men caught her and Lisa, but they were able to. They run away from them, and then, of course, as you understood, they call the men of the colony monkeys. There is no power or strength except with God and Biban. Paulina, Lisa's mother, said that she did not know how to defend her daughter, so she would not be silent, but instead would talk and say that Larissa must have recorded everything that happened during the trip. So she asked Larissa to show her the video that she had recorded, and this would make Maria and her mother go back and get nervous, and it would appear in the video that Lisa was committed, and Maria was the one who did not adhere to the instructions, but the conversation did not end like that. Suddenly, her friend Lisa spoke again. She talks about Jira, and that it is only Lisa while she is in the colony, so she spends all her time and takes another 20 points at this moment because she wants to maintain the rules of the city. She said the secret of her friend in the trial is like your friend in the charismatic class who complains all the time in order to attract the attention of Mr. As for Lisa, she also gives a discount from her points in time. We see Julia Sonam on the ground in the colony, and when he meets Baron, she tries to understand him. He fell out of the vehicle by force and wanted someone to take him to the city because he is responsible for the pollination seeds there. At that time, Baron decides to break one of Julia's fingers, and everyone laughs at him and gets hot because of it. Then Julius is with the barber and cuts his long hair for him, and then he tells the barber that his hair has been raised and cared for 6 years by a man. Oh, suddenly Julius finds himself involved in a duel, and his opponent is the same huge person who was standing next to Jera. He has muscles, but he does not have any, and he understands that this duel is about hitting the face, and the one whose blow is stronger is the one who wins. And as soon as the duel begins, Julius hits his opponent, and the blow is so strong that he knocks him to the ground, and the next day, in the morning, Jira and his colleagues are enjoying the tricks and the masks that the girls do for them, but Jira are surprised at the reproduction section, which is anything. Wow. She doesn't see Jira getting shocked. She's shocked too, so the plate in her hand falls on him as a result of her shock. Because Lisa is surprised how Jira arrived in their city, he changes the subject and calls on Berta to help him, under the pretext that his legs were twisted when he fell. Lisa knocks, then she stays silent and doesn't say anything about Jira, and then it's Jira and his classmates. An awareness trip about the disadvantages of male society, and the tour guide shows the museum. Tell him about the males, how they were rebellious, and he expresses a bad impression and makes them do everything on their own without help. At that time, Lisa comes and talks to Gara, and they learn that if he does not walk, she will have to tell the authorities about his real identity and that he is one of the colony's men. But Gara looks at her like that and responds to her words a little, and Anya, Lisa's grandmother, comes and tells her, Lisa at this time, about Jira and that he was the one who saved her. The colony makes her happy about escaping, so Anya tells her that Jira seems to be a nice person and tells Lisa that she is a fan fan of Jira, but she is controlling her feelings and feelings. We are joking so that there is no point in showing them or anyone suspects that she is in love with someone from the colony who is called these monkeys. We are monkeys, boys. And after a while, he approaches. Lisa is one of the pollination seed officials named Lucis, and he tries to harass her at the time, but he comes. Jira at the same time is defending Lisa and protecting her. He thinks that Lisa will be grateful and happy with his behavior, but she asks him to leave here before his identity is revealed, and he is arrested and gives him a period of half an hour to escape, and she will have to report him to the authorities. In the meantime, we discover that Vivian is the mother of the city. Her boss is in a secret relationship with Baron, and she does not hate men, nor is there any animosity between her and men as she is. She understood everything and nothing, and then we see Baron and his men with them, and they take Julius with them to a deserted place, and we learn that Baron agreed with his right arm's response that he would get rid of Julius, and they would go into the supermarket and take a lot of food supplies from him, and we would know that this Julius was the one who was able to get all the food supplies himself. Unlike Baron's men are impressed by him and his strength, and at night he tries to hit Julius, but Julius is completely unaffected by anything. One thing, and then Rat sits with Julius, and everyone comes back and finds out that Baron is the one who asked him to kill him and get rid of him because he is a spy and is coming to destroy the colony. Julius responds to him and tells him to calm down, but that Baron is an evil and unjust person, and he despises Rat because he is a follower of Baron and he benefits without thinking or objection at that time. The rest decide that they will save Julius' life and return important things to the colonizer, and at the same time, we see Jera trying to escape from the city, but while he is running, he crashes into the unpatched blue barrier, and Vivian goes to sit in her office, reviewing the files of the pollination seed officials, and she waits when she finds a picture of Julius that is different from the person who is there now, and at that time, she declares a state of emergency, and at the same time, this is Jera. He hides, and as soon as he sees Lisa, he leans on her and tells her that, to be honest, he tried to run away, but what stopped him was a strong man. It is the invisible barrier, and they hear the alarm bell ringing in the whole place, and the Tuareg situation is announced, so she loves to help Jira escape, and then she sees them again together, and Lisa arrives at her grandmother's house, Anya, with Jira, and at the same time, the inspection officer comes, so Pei hides Jira and Lisa quickly before you don't see them, but the inspector is able to discover the place where Lisa and Gerard are hiding, so Anya attacks her and beats her with a stick on her brain. Then Anya gets a motorcycle so that Lisa and Jara can escape with it, and she learns that the fast motorcycle will be able to penetrate the very strong barrier, which is the impenetrable barrier, and we realize at that time that Lisa has to escape with her neighbors because she has become a wanted criminal, and this is after I reported her a second time that she is the one who is hiding a man from the colony in their city, but at the same time, Paulina, Lisa's mother, arrives and tells her that her daughter intends to run away with her. Jara decided to catch Anya so that Lisa could walk and run away. We see Lisa and Gerard riding the motorcycle and riding it quickly, and they are actually able to break through the invisible barrier, but because of all their clothes being interrupted and disappearing, Beirut is the place where they sit to rest and sleep until the morning, and they wear the clothes they took with them from the city before they left, and then they are surprised. When he returns to the colonizer, this guest is still there. Aish and his men went out to pick him up and did not carry out his orders, but at that time everyone told him that Julius had protected them from the squirrel gang, so he stayed with Baron Aldik, especially when he found Julius sitting with him, and he wanted him to respect people's opinions and accept criticism. These artists do not accept criticism, so they prefer a coup against him and decide between Baron and Julia S. on his presidency. The colony makes Baron ask Rhett to participate in the elections with them because the votes are distributed among the three of them, and he prefers to be the president and their senior. His status does not change. Then the elections begin, and Julia speaks about himself to introduce himself to everyone, and Baron also speaks about himself and attacks Julius. When the votes are finished, they are counted, and we discover that Baron took only one vote, while Rat took 18. Joyce is 16, so Rat wins the elections, contrary to expectations, and of course Baron, who has been sitting annoyed since the morning, gets annoyed. More than that moment, and the next morning, we see Jara waking Lisa up from sleep, and he has a squirrel that he hunted and a barbecue to have breakfast with, and she becomes like this and screams because she is afraid of the appearance of the squirrel. What squirrel looks like, Uncle? Are you bringing this? At the same time, there are men in this and that place, and they turn to the sound of the squirrel. The girl who screamed, "You're a shame, Lisa," and that's why she and Jara move from one place and run, but to push their luck. Lisa falls while she is running, and Jara takes her away, but he falls with her and hits his brain in a stumpy tree. Lisa, we see her staying bright with Jara in the colony. When Baron tries to get close to Liza, Jara asks him not to touch her, but Baron ignores his words because he wants to take Lisa for what would make the rest of the men of the colony harass her, because they want to take Lisa like him, and they see that this is their right because she is this. Democracy is that they all take Lisa, and then Rad decides to have a duel as usual, and whoever wins will take Lisa. Lisa, what is her situation? After a while, Lisa asks Julius why he is sitting here and has not returned to the city, so he shouts at her and tells her that she is very upset about the place here. As soon as his grandfather serves his neighbor food, Lisa screams again and is afraid, because in the city they are not accustomed to eating strange and inedible real animals like the locals, a colony, and then Lisa will be sitting with Jira and his grandfather, and Julius will be with them as well, and she asks them to act and return to the city in any way because she cannot live in the colony. So Jira tried in every way to make Lisa love the colony, but all of this is to no avail, and Lisa leaves at that time and walks away eating simple squirrels in Beirut. Julius is behind her, and he is also trying to convince her of the advantages of the colony other than squirrels, and the city has no freedom, and it is all rules and orders, so leaving it is safety, food, and medicine. Glory be to God. Instead of Mr. Julius Saul convincing Lisa she would rather sit down, Lisa can convince him that they will escape tonight from the colony and return to the city. Meanwhile, Rad will write new laws and a constitution for the colonizer and present it to everyone so that they can go ahead and agree to it. They know that they will live in democracy and freedom, and because the demands of the people who were written in the constitution, they want her to be able to convince them to go, and in fact, everyone who stays goes away, happy with the new decisions. And one evening at night, Julius goes to Lisa and has his bag with him to run away with her, and he knows that they have to wait for a while. Everyone sleeps with the drink in her hand, and they prefer to drink it together, but suddenly Lisa feels dizzy and unable to do so. Julius takes advantage of this situation and begins harassing Lisa. At that time, Lisa is afraid of him, and this is a logical thing, and after a while, Gara sees that Julius is hurt, and he writes that Liza hit him and walked away. Imagine when you are still hitting all the men, and they are all afraid of you, and they are all hurt by you, and Liza and Bella come to meet Jera. Liza is sitting in front of the fire alone, so he talks to him and talks to each other, and at that time, Liza becomes upset. Of all men, because every time someone sees her, he wants to harass her, which is what you have never been. They've seen girls before. Oh, we've never seen girls before, but it's not justified. I mean, Faber approached her, and he knows that he doesn't want to harass her like them, nor does he want to harass her a little bit, and he brings Lisa chicken that he grilled himself for her, and he asks her to try the taste of the chicken because she likes it, so she agrees with Lisa that she try it because it looks better than the grilled squirrel that was brought to her, and as soon as she tastes the chicken paste, she likes it. It tastes very good, and she will be surprised that this is a delicious and sweet taste of meat, contrary to her expectations. Then Lisa and Julia begin to get closer to each other. At the same moment, Lisa reacts to her mother in front of her, so they begin to take her and her neighbor in the vehicle to return to the city. In the vehicle, the inspection officer gives Jera a tranquilizer injection and repels Liza from what happened, what should she do, but she does not speak because she is afraid of her mother. She looks at her with great anger, and then Paulina goes to Vivian and talks to her about pardoning her daughter, so Vivian comes to her mind that her mother was against the city all her life and was one of the rebels, and despite all this, Mary Dietsch takes her mother's sin and gives her the chance to be one of the founders of society, so she gives herself in exchange for pardoning her herself. And her daughter and I decided that night, so Vivian agreed at length and without thinking. And then we see Jera in the trial, and he calls. At that time, he is being tried in the city, and Paulina sets an ambush for him, especially since at that time they sentenced him to death for entering the city under the guise of being one of the pollination seat officials. The second day in the morning, Jera wakes up from sleep and is reassured when he finds himself on the bed. He is even more reassured by Lars's voice when they think that he will be executed within an hour, and she asks. He has a good breakfast, and when his neighbor comes out of the room he is sitting in, he sees Lisa by chance, so he stares at her and runs towards her, but suddenly he finds a wooden barrier between him and her, and the inspection officer comes and shakes his neighbor again, and another time, and he becomes more reassured because this time he is on the death row and they are making sure that he will be allowed to speak for the last time before they execute him, so he stops and says that he wants to confess his love for Lisa. Before he dies, he makes Lisa run to him and hug him, but we discover that all this is from Jera's uncle because they connected his brain to devices that show everything he imagines on the screens as if it were a soap opera. How can they show something like this? Liz believes this when she sees Jera thinking about her and is sold by his love for her. She loves the pollinator seat officials and asks them to help her because she wants to save Jera from execution. They all agree at that time, and we see Jera. Then he is on the death row, reassured about his recovery, and uses Belize to save him. She helps him, but she pretends that she is ignoring it. There is no difference with her. Pollination seat officials come and speak loudly to everyone. They object to what is happening. One of them threatens to go on a hunger strike for his neighbor, and he will not come unless he is released. Another person speaks and says that he will not save the pollination seeds and destroy them. At the same time, Jera's fantasies are also exposed on the screen, and everyone is watching them, and suddenly Lisa starts up again and calms down. She and everyone are with him because the government frees Jera, and then Vivian arrives and confronts what is happening and tries to turn everyone against Jera, but Jera doesn't make any difference with me because he keeps imagining himself in the movie Titanic with Lisa and that he is protecting her from drowning and laughing for her, just like Jack worked with a bride in the movie, and this makes everyone very affected, especially Lisa, and Vivian finds her situation difficult. Because no one was on her side, she decided to withdraw from the death penalty, but on the condition that Lisa swear in front of everyone that she would be responsible for the behavior and deeds of her neighbor, so she agreed with Lisa without hesitation, and she complained to her mother about the oath too, so that she could be with her daughter and on her side, and and then Lisa would go to Jera and remove the imagining device. His brain, when he sees what room he will be sitting in, is very impressed, so he asks if there is an artificial intelligence named Larissa that will help him in. He understood the rules, and suddenly Jera tries to get closer to Lisa, and suddenly Liza moves away from him, and suddenly she hugs him again, because it is clear that she cannot hide her feelings from him any longer, and suddenly Jera wakes up from sleep, and we discover that all of this was a dream, and then Lisa goes to Jera, and he is now her mother, Paulina, and he understands that the ring is everyone who wears it will have their own social points. He now has 300 points, and if he loses them because of a mistake he made, he will be fined, punishing all of them, and at the same time, Jera loses part of his points because he didn't finish breakfast and spoke in a bad way to Lars. He decided that he would hang up his horn and not speak again before he ruins the world with his words, which he does not know. After that, Lisa takes Jera on a field tour of the city at that time. Women look at this neighbor with great astonishment and are annoyed by his behavior because he does not look like them. Like them, everyone gives him bad evaluations, and thus he loses a second part of his points. After that, Jera and Lisa go with the other to the tennis court, and then a girl named Uva gets tired of him. When Jera chooses a team to support, Lisa understands that they are not playing for the sake of competition because sports are important for health. So Jera looks at her and tells her, competition makes sports better and more enjoyable, so it gives girls, and they decide that they try to breathe, and it becomes clear to Lisa at the time that she is jealous of Jera because it is clear that most of the girls like him and want to get close to him, and there is intense competition between the girls while playing, to the point that Lisa fumbles the ball in a second, and then he attacks her again, and they are fighting with her, and suddenly they are both in teams. They fight together, and Vivian comes after her, feeling angry because of what happened, because this is the first time there has been a quarrel between the girls, and they are also hitting each other and behaving in a bad way, and early on she is punishing everyone, and then she speaks again with Lisa and asks her to forgive her because she attacked and hit her, so she began to apologize to her, Liz too, and they walk together, the two of them, and he leaves Lisa and Jera alone, which means he is sad in his soul. To the colonist, while Julius was sitting in Baron's office, he noticed that there was a locked drawer, so he decided to break it. He finds the ring made of artificial intelligence, and this is the ring that Baron uses to communicate with Vivian. When he tries to tell Julius that he is using the ring and calling Vivi if she is drinking, Vivian is shocked when she finds out that Julius is the one talking to her. So what is this? She quickly hangs up, and then we see everyone rushing to catch her. The bees hive because they need honey, and he is not the one who has honey. No, he is afraid that the bees will sting him, of course. Julius keeps seeing the girls, so he caught the cell, who is brave and not afraid of anything, and then Julius meets Vivian and asks her to take him back to the city again. At the same time, they are together, and they are looking for a place from which to get food supplies for the colonizers, but at the same time, an armed gang attacks them, and because they let the Baron go, they take right. They have hatred, and in the city, we see Lisa trying to leave. Jera participates in their work in order to improve his status and reputation in her community, and at that time, he delivers a collective message to everyone, and we discover that the message is a recorded video of Julius in which he complains about his suffering in the colony and the way the men live, and he says that Jera is the reason for everything he saw and what happened to him. Jera assumed his personality and took his place in the city, and he did not find his place among men and women and remained their man. At that time, everyone is shocked, so Jera tries to defend himself and speak, but all the women leave, and then we learn that Vivian helped Julius and brought him back to the city, and everyone has mercy on him at this time, and while Lisa is caring for Julia, he will know that she is deceived by Jera, and he will tell her his whole truth, and as soon as Lisa leaves him and walks away, he appears. Jera and he fights with Julius, and he gets nervous and threatens and insults him and makes mistakes. Of course, Jera's blood pressure decreases significantly, and his eggs fly. He becomes silent and stops crying. He becomes very tired and loses control of his nerves. He throws the apple in his hand. He says this means he is fanatical. Then Jera returns to the house he is sitting in with Liza and a second person and breaks up at the same time. This is in the presence of Vivian, and he has members with him. The whole council and their home at that time were neighbors by insulting the apple, which they considered a symbol of their city and the society that they had built and which would be everything. He is on display, and he is controlling the whole city so that all the ladies can see and hear what Jera did in their code. At that time, Jera loses a lot of points and keeps losing his points until they remain 0. At the same moment, a wandering person donates 1 point to him, and suddenly the bird's eggs hatch unusually, and this is because of Jera's help. All the ladies send him points as a form of thanks, and he says that I am a ladies' man and is very happy about what happened. As for Vivian and the rest of the council members, they are extremely angry, and it hurts that they leave, and then we see that Jera is trying to get closer to Lisa and is treating him kindly, and he also gives her a point because she is sweet, but it shows Lisa at the time that she is ignoring and blameful, and because he always gets her into trouble, and she tells him what to say to you, stay away from me, because I don't want to get into another problem because of you. Jera decided to listen to her words. He moves away from her and returns to the colonist a second later. He leaves a message for Lisa before he leaves. When Lisa opens the letter, she discovers that it is a farewell and apology letter, and she feels emotional as she reads it. We then see his neighbor standing far away, and he thinks to me that he is is able to distract the inspector and steal the barrier device from her so that he can disable it. He easily crosses and escapes, but the inspector is at the same time. At this time, she whistles with her whistle and the drone comes and takes a breath. At this moment, due to his neighbor's confusion, he crashes into a passing vehicle and runs into the hospital, and at that time, he loses consciousness. The next day, as soon as Gira wakes up, he leaves the hospital with Lisa and her mother, Polina, who are doing well. In the city, all the women are ready for a ceremony to choose the woman who will be vaccinated and become pregnant, the method of artificial insemination. She wants to know what artificial insemination means, and then we will know that Lisa herself is a woman, and she hopes that they will choose her and her. The ceremony will see Paulina challenging Vivian in anything because she decided to run for elections against her because she wants to be the next mother of the city. At that time, Paulina will be able to win Vivian in all the competitive games, and the time will come to announce the name of the woman who will be vaccinated. 3 Lisa will be chosen, meaning she will philosophize about what contains the seeds of pollination, and when she comes to speak, she suddenly becomes silent, leaves the box of pollinating seeds, and goes to come because she has decided this time. She doesn't care about her feelings and sentiments towards him, and she wants to leave him in a natural way like the rest of the people. At the same time, Baron and his men break into the party, and we know that he is doing this on Vivian's orders. Baron then informs me that Lisa and Bennett have bought the whole place to destroy it, and they know that he is kidnapping all the women and taking them to the colonizer. He makes all the women terrified, and they try to escape from him in any way. Chaos ensues. The place is large, and then Baron walks with Lisa and her mother, but then they stop Vivian's guards and threaten them with the weapons they have. But at the same moment, one of Baron's men blows up a milk bottle in order to distract the guards' attention with it, and he can escape. He is the rest of the people who are afraid of the milk bottle other than its price. I don't know, and he is holding Baron. Paulina and puts the gun on her brain to make the guards stay away from him and let him escape and hurt her at that time. He hides in the place designated for storing pollination seeds and writes that he is trapped in the place and will not be able to get out of it. He begins to become fanatical and angry and breaks his silence and continues to blame Vivian because she is the reason. At that time, Paulina understands that Baron moved on Vivian's orders and tries to win him over to her side and offers him that she will help him and get him out on the condition that he confesses to the authorities. As smart as that, and the city council agreed with the truth about Vivian and me, of course, Baron agreed at length, and after that, Baron and Paulina come out, and we learn that Paulina took all the pollination seed capsules because Baron knows that they are valuable and very important to the ladies, and as soon as he breaks one of the capsules, they will leave and I will not follow. Oh, and then we see Baron and Paulina walking around the city, and Baron is talking at this time about everything that is between him and her. Vivian then asked him to attack the city, and in the meantime, he attacked the neighbors. He frees Lisa from the one who kidnapped her, and the two of them run away. And when Lisa hides in her house, she discovers that she is a little stupid and that she does not know how to use all of her artificial intelligence devices. She understands that she has been deprived of using the city's privileges, and this time she and I complain that Vivian is the one behind all of this, and I also hate you. To be honest, they then get into the car that Baron was coming in and see Baron and them together. Paulina makes Baron go to Gera and puts them down in the car and keeps hitting it because he is the cause of all these problems from the beginning. He rides the car and moves around in it, and he is with Lisa and her mother, and we know that he is the eldest of them and they prefer with him, but Lisa keeps fighting with Baron in order for him to put her down, and this makes the car swerve and fall into the lake, and we find out that Anya is his grandmother. Lisa was able to unite with Baron Dad's men, Vivian, and he attacked her in the office, and they felt that Mr. Julius will be there and defend her, and Vivian will be happy at the time that the rebels and all of Baron's men have been arrested. We will then see all those arrested in prison, forced to work and serve and treated as if they were slaves. He said, before that they were treated well and he was killed. She saw on Baron that they were escaping in garbage bins. He sold Baron's pocket with the idea and it worked as Ratland, and we knew at the time that he was deceiving Baron. Because of it, he gets rid of him. But unfortunately, his plan fails, and when Lucius learns the news of the destruction of the pollen seeds, he becomes very upset and cries, and he sees in front of him the man who has separated from the women and remains their man who is his neighbor. There is a stuffy house with him and they are on him and he wants to hold him, but Gera tries to guide him and makes him understand that he is not at fault for anything that happened, and he tells him about the neighborhood of Vivian, and she was the one who agreed with Baron about the attack that happened, so Louisa was in the hands of Gera at that time and they were reading a report. Lucius is using his wheel and he and Jiraiya walk very quickly towards the unmarked barrier in order to cross it and reach the colony. The next day in the morning, we see Jira in the colony, and he, his grandfather, and Lucius begin to draw up their plan. Meanwhile, Jira sees by chance a picture of his grandfather on his graduation days from university, and he realizes that Vivian is there. This same picture makes Jira's grandfather very happy and tries to determine his position, and they read, and halfway through he pretends that he is drunk and unconscious in order to let the squirrel gang catch him and take him to Katya, their leader, who uses men as dogs for her. There is no God but God, and she wears dog collars. There is no God but God, and she lets him walk on their hands and feet, and then she goes to Vivian, and the men she uses are with her. Like a dog, Jira can hand Lisa Lucius's ring so that she can record everything that happens ends. After a while, we see Lisa watching Vivian and filming her and Katya having a party with normal men, and she interacts with them in a normal way, and this is the opposite of what is seen in women's society. But at that time, this young woman who took all the men and treated her would be interested in noticing the presence of Jera and Lisa in the place, and knowing that they are watching us, exposing her, and she passes by. The guards catch Lisa and Jera, and then Vivian tries to control what happened and gathers the women of the city to complete her act. He wrote it to them, but a second time she had all the pictures that Lisa took and showed them to everyone so that they would know the truth about Vivian, but Vivian at that time denied that she was the one in these pictures, and Lisa made it up, and a second time she forged it, so she fabricated the pictures. At the same time, the mother decided to tell the city that she would intervene and conduct a fair investigation, and then, like the last of the evil series, Vivian runs into her office to destroy all the evidence that could incriminate her in the investigation and burns the place where she and Katya worked at the party, which has the evidence. But then Lisa tries to lure Julius and seduce him in order to find out from him Vivian's secrets. At the same moment, Jera attacks him and beats him, but the Squirrel Gang does not leave him, and fortunately for him and our luck, Baron arrives and the series ends, and he helps him and moves the prisoners, and then we find out. If Vivian is arrested, her brain is connected to the imagination device, and her fantasies are displayed on screens as they worked with his neighbors. God knows what they were offering, and they elected the ladies at that time, Paulina, to be the mother of the city after Vivian and the person in charge of them, and thus the series ended. I expected that in the end the men would return to normal, but they did not return, so their luck remained. I mean, unfortunately, we are thinking that if you want to choose a series, movie, or the second part of the series, write in the comments, and the more comments will get a like, we will give it a greeting.